Yate, Adawis Ade, Danhin Nasagido, Adawis Ade, Daisanosagi. Good afternoon and greetings from wherever you are watching and from wherever you are listening. My name is Rudy Arshabala, and I'm originally from Nazlini, Arizona, and I serve the Navajo Nation as the Executive Director for the Division of Natural Resources. And I welcome again, everyone. We're going to talk about Navajo hunting, traditional hunting, Navajo hunting in general, and we're going to we're going to have knowledge shared to us from ladies from different parts of the Navajo Nation. But at first, if we'll all stop for just a moment, I will give us the opening prayer. Ojandoles, Shamana Hassan, Jona Eshita, Yoka the ne, Nikit Nene, Niki date, Hajine, Hasi Delia, Niki date, Chol in Belatrato, Nankit Kene, Niki date. Sa na rebik hajan atsaga holone niche hasche yasti niche hasche hogan yoske stan nihema asana tlesi nihema kododiche asahni kliniki asahi tleki alile doles alile da hitidiltsin alile asche hataditse alile nihena antkin asche hataditse aron dakodo Tselestan, Tuistan, Kostla Nazdi, Koskat Nazdi, Chilia Nazdi, Childene, Chilathajon, Bene, Nchebe Nazdi, Ayash Nat Ani, Yan Hitha, Yadis Hisni Tra, Chas Hisni Hema, Saana Rebik Hajon, Alile, no Katene, Nikit Nini. Kehuit idoles, yat eko, ni trajata hot etoles, kont de kossen sa nast et ata, ni transnegi, nash etol, do nash el dodoles, do et do ni trahalon dodoles, arosh de yindene, sa ana rebik hajan, alile kon ni trajata hot etoles, akaitel washetas ke, Hakaitel Washike, Saahna Rebik Hajan, he get no eat or less. Njonagon see Kesta, and Jonagon Nahui Ada, and Jonagon his Zak Ahadi, Sad Yad Ehi, Chit Chito, Nahat Ayad Ehi, Etanid Edo, needs East Hayat the hot eight or less. Ado and the Shakish, das a zine, Taske, Shakish, das a zine, Jake, Hata any neither. Ni jada betzilda, ni hits easta betzilda. Sa ahna rebik hajan, ni trahya daut echo on, ni trah never no cart nails data or this. Ha aden ni jen hajan or le chat, shata aden ni jen hajan. Aden ni jen hajan. Naho constant ni jen hajan. In the daya asni den ni jen hajan. Never car den ni jen hajan. Schodani Jehojando, Schodani Jehojando, Schodani Jehojando, Schodani Jehojando, the Yindo Les, Ojona Hastling or Les, Ojona Hastling, Ojona Hastling, Ojona Hastling, Ojona Hastling. Thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to introduce the First Lady of the Navajo Nation, Ms. Kamilia Elsisie. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Gate. Initially, Kamilia Elsisie, initially, trouble Hanishnak is a son of a chain. I don't know how to night, I should not that chain. I don't think it's I see, I say she I live and reside here in Winter Rock, Arizona right now. And from the Office of the First Lady and Second Lady, we do these monthly virtual presentations just in an effort to educate the public. And it's just mainly for education purposes for our Navajo families, especially for the youngsters. But it's, you know, some of these topics, they're very intricate to our cultural teachings. And so this month, or last month, we did the portion on hunting, and there were a lot of presentations done by men and their roles when it comes to just that, hunting. And so after that virtual webinar went out, there were comments and requests made to the office to see if we could do a portion in terms of hunting, harvesting, the preparation of meals, what the woman's role is in all of this. And so we came back to introduce you to 3 women, the 3 presentations coming up. We have Louva Dahozy, who's going to be sharing with you stories. And then we have Jason and Vangie Pedwaydon. They'll give you a presentation on, they're going to give you a view of what their roles are in the entire process. And then Kamilia Elsisie, she is a one woman, how do you say it? She does all of it. So these are the 3 presentations we have for you today. But in terms of the month of November, you know, they talk about Thanksgiving and a month of being, you know, just a month of remembering to be thankful and to be grateful for all that we have. And I guess for Navajos, it would be, you know, Ahee'hee, you know, just to remind ourselves every day that we need to be thankful and be grateful. And for Navajo Nation, we were just at the Navajo Nation Zoo an hour or 2 hours ago. And so being out there with staff from Division of Natural Resources, from Fish and Wildlife, and, you know, one of the things I always tell them is, you know, everybody else probably envies the jobs that you have because you get to spend your time outdoors, tending to, you know, animals and the plant, the wildlife, everything. And so they have an awesome job there, but Navajo Nation has a lot of natural resources to overlook and to protect. And so one of the things that I think we should be absolutely grateful for as a Navajo people is, of course, you know, our knowledge, our Indigenous knowledge, and especially for this webinar, we're talking about the Indigenous knowledge that some of our people have, you know, they retain it and they pass it on from their generation onto the next generation. And so you're gonna see some of that being presented with the next 3 presentations. And I'm very thankful for that there's people here, there's families here on the Navajo Nation who still, you know, who still practice these, and they carry these traditions on. They carry these teachings on. And so everybody talks about Indigenous foods, and, you know, a lot of that, it doesn't happen by going to a grocery store or going through a fast food lane. It's something that takes work, it takes effort, and there's teachings around how you do certain things, how you don't do certain things, all of that. And so I'm very grateful for the people who are presenting here and sharing their knowledge and then their stories. And so thank you again, and we hope you enjoy the presentations this afternoon. So Ahee'hee.
Ahee'hee, First Lady of the Navajo Nation, Kamilia Elsisie. Thank you very, very much. And I want to add that the First Lady of the Navajo Nation, she made it possible for all this to happen, this webinar, that we're having today. And also about a month ago, there was also another webinar where Navajo traditional hunters that are men gave a presentation on how they hunted deer and other big game. So what's that? The definition and ba heta needs and di on ha when agi di an kin ha in lado kodo nanish in lago even nacha yadi mi ha jeki do na jek echa the neck ashana jeki in khahun the ko days that anidi yet na kiskanda hot in Ireland. Ita has twist di days ido di ana ajit ano inkisn da hasna tashini nasan das kit ko kodoti chindo ya hashin sabo ankisn na da hati aro na ajit she ya ankisn na nazlanda na sharo aro don enschlinike ya chishidesh chi nishla aro under the jende nasht ejendi astanils isko it's handi zaro aro turuchi in hani yado nanhitin aro dash chain tachi ninda apo don and list noshia hasling aro shish chain nal nishinde is nal jihinde ako ibitsaro shita do aro shamaha bijaya itsaro nal jehos ako ben an tiniki bikahadi and di na jeto but all shno shia hos ako asan bitsaro shina jehos shamaha shishchene ako aro belkhaje shi kedan deniki edo nimaha it's aro dalje here the host so my I was raised in a deer hunting family, and my grandfather, he was a deer hunter, and he knew the traditional Navajo hunting ways and how to skin and butcher deer, the Navajo traditional ways, and so did his sons, and as did his daughter. And his daughter, the one that happened to be my mother, she was the second oldest, and my oldest aunt, the firstborn, helped my grandmother with weaving and with the younger siblings. And my mom, she was the second oldest, so she had to be outside taking care of the sheep and the livestock and helping her father with the gardening. And by I guess just being lucky enough, or she also learned how to hunt deer from her father. So my mother was a deer hunter, and they hunted in Noslini, they hunted Long Mountain towards Shanto, they hunted toward the Grand Canyon, and they hunted all over, and so that's my background. Is I was born into a deer hunting family, and it was my mom that taught me all about deer hunting. And of course, my grandfather was there, and so were my uncles. And so this particular webinar is about hunting again, as it was last month, but only today it is going to be presented. We're going to have presenters that are Navajo ladies. And so I'm very proud to be able to, again, assist. And we have 3 presenters today. And one of them is Louva Dahozy. And She's from Fort Defiance, Arizona. And we also have Vangie Pedwaydon and her husband, Jason Pedwaydon, from Big Mountain, Arizona. And I happen to know these folks, and I'm very proud and that they are going to be able to give presentations to all of us today. And we also have Kamilia Elsisie, and she's from Albuquerque. She's Navajo, and she's also going to share her stories as a lady and deer hunting and the preparation of the food, you know, that's deer meat, and so on. Gilbert Hasan the halebe da halebe do halebe chon deer meat is very sacred. If it's hot and you don't blow on it to cool it off, by doing so, you're gonna chase the deer away, for the next time you hunt, and you'll be unable to harvest. So you have to wait for it to cool on its own, and for your, to eat. So we have a lot of cool, awesome, I don't call them restrictions, but methods of how we prepare and we fix deer. And also a lot of what we, I guess, consider not just deer meat, but they Ahee'hee and prairie dogs, cottontail rabbits. These are all edible wild game Navajo foods. I want to tell you a story. When I was a young boy, my little first cousin brother lost a baby tooth, and my grandma and he had his tooth out, his baby tooth, and he was, I didn't have to carry him. He could talk and walk. And when my little first cousin brother, I was little too, couple 3 years older than him. He lost his baby tooth then. He wasn't a toddler. Well, a toddler, he could walk and he could talk, but he lost his tooth. And my grandma said, take him outside and have him stand right next to you. And his tooth you hold in your hand and throw it over your shoulder as far as you can. Don't look back to see where it landed. My grandmother instructed me. And then the next ado shasnila saliba wo was batskis the hinch hanago nash it bits it itish hush the dini shadoni. My grandmother said, when you throw your little brother's tooth over your shoulder, you're going to say, the badger's tendon, I'm going to bite in half, and you throw it over your shoulder. And I never knew the meaning of it. I never knew, was explained to why that was. And I did. And I did exactly how I was taught. And ever since then to this day, my children, they lost their tooth. That's what I would say when I would throw their tooth over my shoulder. And we carry that tradition on. And I like to read, and and I like to read books about Navajos and Native Americans. I read. Not too long ago, I read that not so your inch or your benishly inch the neba or by inch I don't Tinch tijida ba in shaatro ba in stra. And neat anna istra. The ne da nashite dan danchin. And aro a yod that's in danchin. Ako Ada Zabinina, Ada at what Ahee'hee Zabinina, So in my readings recently, I read that a long time ago, one of the diet included in the Navajo diet was badger, and that the meat was really tough and it was hard to chew, and perhaps that's why my grandmother told me to say I will bite the badger's tendon in half as I threw my little brother's tooth over my shoulder. Or else maybe from today's teachings that what that's a thought. Maybe from today they'll say, "Oh, you're wrong, Rudy." So kachi kodoshi tsanich hado tsihiki right now I'm going to turn the time over to Louva Dahozy from Fort Defiance, Navajo Nation, Arizona.
Di kodo ya ni hasti shachin. Di na ajrecha aje ya di bena edi kitiki hashin social spas and ki ya kodo ben hilkotish. Even ya di kodo niche netta. Di Louva Dahozy ya yenchie. Ado hashkan zawen shlong hachini dashinal. Kian ani pashishin islan dashichi. Ado in the di kodoba hodnishni ki yap. A sonish andolja, a sonish nalje be baz. Tot egona kitiki ebenina kodo. Chain that as a dodge ego yinan tinde di na jeki. Don't dal jekor. The scotch. She edan lini, shas tweedan lini, shas chindan lini. Dash re and dal jeko, each spehosen. Eben not your ecodo ya ben. The Nihilhashnet or Lady Kodosh spells and Niki in so. A chin slid out, I see at in the door. All travel that the shadash nothing that a jeko, and dies in tino. That all chon, ego and dies in tinde, not in tint that all hayinde. That ado leto all ini dido, all in the dido that you know, so that I yo, and dies in tinde. This tree the air. Naast kwido sani yashi alsko ado da halne shat yin needs nahask beni nago etish chinted at na tinet ayot at den did she yadi the shanat the hot indeed a ben kilkotition she chain that the haskinat ani will yego haskinat ani will yego yat not nes tra yego not nes tra do shenat dalia gijo kodo ya ben hilkashne do di dan le ego le fall khaljesho September begit de ya na jepe be has ada chenigo ya igisi ben hast enders die in bel ton ta da ya be Alki do kat ya to the josh in the to the dodge ingo do ben that the skit and the chance that the betragon bagal walk that she's candy and got up in that's a skin there. Ado belt don't has need or ado is a hot ego chon is banana kin dot open nego belt don't has no. So that bears the oscasa show Peter Adole got the long that bears the oscaso to chong in the accord. I was naked not can eat or stop that church. A yo ben dashin tin de ita nahast queen age. That's the Sunday that I yo did not a jake that was the sun. Did that is Jaco. Ahee'hee Ahee'hee Singita Jonogo has etachis in Jonogo tapetsiliki, Tahayuki that io yesiki ta etas etachis in. Akokon lachte yati Singin Jonogo has in thought I see Jonogo Pediot inspinige. Jo da yeki ediki cho in the Ado in the day has 2 sani, each a 8 agantan tindi, ita a coco. The Yota has to send to Aza, ya just kita. Don't know just eat. To Aza, go to Lota, to touch a note, the hashi, as she can in that kite, as she can in that kite, that I see. Benabedan tindi, the Nantino yegi, as she kegi harder. Nan jet o lil na chen has lego bebe ne yet o lil ado oden kisse nan jet bos ta chnego yo da tson betabeji de die street eto hat negon haschen na agent da to yeta hosunda halet ego ya na age da donde da nida donde ina da etelkida o hot ego de hokka die street ko I see your nose nego ade beta in nago behini nago eta house reach. En le huelte de nice nada I see the adoleta da na leva wanta da da toneta da nani nago. A hot za kago ade na aji so na aji binaha. I don't be hadil jit hadal jit da hosun oko I chon esli 80 akoko na ajeke 80 has 2 sani jo yen ha intinki yati atjes del jako trachet ja alsas kuigi trachet konne trachet ja do ado tratas dikis yego tratas dikis ado inta sita has the sano ja a son the dobet ashe in jagada da ninde de negi don the son be wish kata asasi da wish kata bis kan da jije in lego tslon da jije adla ashaina kita da wish ka tra ich kon ade ne da yele do la to shinta yo no na ade ha hoshi da ade da jije Akon leed adet de bietjes keko ako bezastikis betilgi naskotiski ado betige in hauhatje betige ja dat se bekeda hachiko ado inda jedo as de ja etsent ja I see dat de seko jonogo istosh dat is ito ade atsentrako dan jonogo atseniki achata hitetnelo beta strong jono sheba ta hitetnelo ade hi bestatselosle ako yo no le ko eti hot ego ja atseki cho in de dat hotel ze no bestrafo hot ego agot ego ja atseki ti cho in de ado unda akagiki anana sati to di baga di bahas chita no ayot asati na gai kote hawan on gai kote de batte til jai ja toda ta kai tosuto be bil sosi ja tayes so na kitchenta kitchenta ado inta in lihana ade etsen ahan deelse trag op på kais das so beleta askalo ata se pora agil skona shokoli ako opane akan apanegi pahana ado tai na sozo na kitchenta na agi ado keta twiskis so that se ado atsigi do I sin jono that at segi pa njonogo at lehit ango at segi pa ta chiago at at sigaaki yan latte. A paniki bananas kleko bilze die aje at siga ja aje betatje klako aje beskatte se bilze die wat ego ado inda wagin zis tranike dat is sunle wat atzago tajot loto atzago ya tajishki dat is ba dat is tikon jonogo ade ne eketo koten jonogo etsenki ade ne ekeko nenda yeko tinta yi loso ade da hawade anzago kon nebel belkehoit ini ade da ispaste Shumande ya tata hangaki kwe tata patas dago kwe jonogo ya ade de jatoa shint asat sope tota kato ade nda pasod ne sane ade atseki ya tika shin jonogo ndagilkish dan jonogo da beige ko la da akapeda eso la chikada esko at ego at sada chikada esko ego ya atachil inde ko shidene nanes kada dat nilagashda atayil iki ya si kojenda kai shi the neta ayale the celebration neniki it ego ban kot ego ya atachil inde ato altkhatat Washington epata altkhatam education at denda belakana batsadeki the nejet at the torchon ingon dahin kinde ako bik eko nande bik eko ekini nande nan tinigi at o hayinde ita ako koti at segi sin jono ego that you on the daughter scosta that you know that's the son of daughter scosta at segi that you know no she nita nito she jono ko te tantle ego akot ego beshi ya ho sato be ne ya ko te snedide do osha shneki do oshnal pa hon ne gi pa shneta adon ne te chin shlida shnal ta hotin she chende she mande she matsande yendan tinko hot ego ya ade beshi ya ho agi pa hot ego ya pa shneto listide ado inta tite isi ni yo tilsen ko het ego be pa na ade ko ego ya tite be shi ya ho at sneniki ya ko at sita ya at ego be te kish kon shehit in latte shehit ado at sneki parta chilgasto at sigaki cho yan latte akake pa nanal ego ya betas the sende got ego akot ya did at segi cho inde adon la panil zete ade ken sai dal kedal do hayi cho inde ado hatkhali be hatkhali be bitjes da ete adal inde ado at the neta be at the dan lede ya at adal inde jent the nebe inde ado belgrade adal inde away da bekestke away bet all adal inde kenal da ela Osikita kenal tape sipe et onde tado hayi cho endite ado inda akagi kita chkinde sto chile ya ta spesko ya shnahlia tada le chki go speso ya pe pakage ya betlo ado inda pakha ya got baka ya bet jo ya lati chki ko Akot ego eya tatis inde e. Ado inda tas del jacosto. Chile to Hollande dol ada bohos ada ede. Don't tacha. Had dan leden to Jaco. Be had di watching sata. When he shihol Bekena at Clista Nogo. A quetch a leggy to Hollande, Beniget el the Hollande. Ado in the di Kelchigi dutchel, Arta ea pecheli, Kelchigi yichkigo, be had kedal chkigo hot ego. Had kedal in the that ha yijiko. Nantinigate that ha yinde, to end it then. The housing ad never better husband. John Lego. Na shade ade le doko slish to ade egisi ade shiyaho tsakade da tsakade nkot zat adona rahde ade shiyaho akot zat na tinigis at oyi shespehosen ita chinen sligo ako distride akot enan tinet ayon naha atten hallen distride ko distride ja eko shina antkeshi ne andol ni so shi has ande ko to don hita yokkeda don ha hot ende to ni ta kat in da di ko shekeda ko do bahashne ako di khaykot ta khabiga ede dat is bezig dat gewoon ingo na dat gaat dan graag wat ego dat is bezig wat aan bekend dan gaan de dat het toch dat een zon dat ayo noslen ako aslan eto dat een zegt dat johan to na zeta ita shi aan nin lede shi aan ni san don zegt dat nin de jonde kato Ado lakot she cheye no ta san et andolja. Ko ko bila. Asan bila desha. At san deske ni go chini to gende at segin. Jo khala khashne longo. Ado to dat ogin se papa sa kis she kot ego. Andolja hot Yes ande Ado Hadoshi Washington Ward Tajo Gagi de hat edo a sand o hayis slagon daske Belton deja Belton Yendal Jio Gitahos Akoko ya at distride san a sunny clean sheet anelje. O hayindalje kot essan. Belton git deja hitahos Abol hos igiltons benigesh ogil adoli. Da adoli be et setol nicht benige ja borstos Jo ede benige. Jo lache da het je gate be die olige na Nike naiki ajepetio gesipinike pelton petahis alto. Kotistride lahot bent orjachto pelton kisho chiton il. Akot ego ti. Distride akot ego en kelkas ako. Ado penolden go dite akot ego. Na antinigit dat hayi beslas ego To aditjent distride akot ego. Nicht ben hitchen yatkida. Ako sanni klini shit antilja distride akot Ado de kuina gaida shi yatite. De kuina gaida shi de kuina gaida shi 19 1964 en ita de nepeskin snande Wilson Dahozy was Wilson Dahozy Senior Diego ya ande was Navajo tribe de net because the net benat has ade ande ha covid op niet akoko ya ha covid op niet ya ande bindi yes but op niet in New Mexico de Los Alamos hol de bindi yes but op niet big het al yes kote zeste big het al yes ben ja ande ade ha god op niet ako besna aswoto ade bini nige chedet so yo dan skogi ade bi hates bikoni nige ego ande ko eni nige akoko o pita hiske no ade yana lo ne ako let's the ade let's so de ade pa ade ndo kesterne ak at kontiske no a ke ish what a kon ke a kon le tslon le oshke mountain ad uits andre spazit oya ahila tslon all trot behet at dj ad sheep pink edos yawl ye kot ego e she distrite at it hil sheep pauzago ako ita kot ego chohot os into akot Dite pinki ko hade shinish ligigo edolia akot eshindat ended akot ego ajet pik edolia got Ako kunst ko ako don fiskoshne do this. Akela.
Dahozy. Jonagon na hanne do jonagon hisna hasanjne. Ko dan hinasaki do da isenoltsagi. Inireng gilche. Johna anegi nast edoba shlap nache. Louva is 95 years old. And she's also a founder of the National Indian Council on Aging. And she taught livestock in 4-H and taught home economics in 4-H. And so, we heard another story last month. We talked about deer from the Grand Canyon being released in Nazlini. There's that now AP. That Nazlini, but that is, but that chip. In 1958 that arok at a Louva now in the your trouble how so the other a in a Oshkade neither a other bit that is shit at no kitchen and a hot uncle the oho at edo aro at a wheel at a sinil at on it and hinaki. That's as ich shama the na hinson. Aro yat etolesh don jonagon kaya hod etolesh aro the aro nada hoizne etolesh dog at ya from Big Mountain, Navajo Nation, Arizona. We're going to have our next presenter, and Vangie Jason Pedwaydon. Vangie and Jason Pedwaydon, thank you so much for being with us. And I'm going to give it to you. Thank you.
Oh, Ani Baju Nindindasman, Jason Pedwaydon, Indigenous Knowledge, Ottawa, Chippewa, Mohican, and Delaware, Northern Michigan, Southern Ontario, Indunjaba. Meanwhile, Big Mountain, Arizona, Navajo Reservation, Indunjaba. So, Chimagwich to everybody that's listening, especially Magwitch, First Lady, Second Lady, and the President and the Vice President. Say, yeah, and good afternoon, relatives. What I do for work is I'm a sheep herder. The way that my wife and I that we live out here in Big Mountain, herd of sheep and some horses and some fields. We're carrying on the way that she was raised by her mom and dad, and her mom and dad journey on to the spirit world. And then her siblings are out working, making provisions for themselves, and mom, that the ways of living be carried on. So that meant something to my wife and myself, and that's what we're doing in hopes that maybe someday one of the little ones in our family are going to carry on too. And we always tell the little ones it's an option in life. Too often I hear people say, education, education, education. Yes, it's good. They shouldn't do it. But we also tell our little ones, the sheep in the fields, living natural, close to the earth is a way of life that's here for you. And we're going to take care of it, Yaja, until that day comes. If you want, it'll be here. So that's the way we do. And then professionally, I have a certification as a personal trainer. I'm credited through the American College of Sports Medicine. So really what we're talking about here goes hand in hand. Hunting, physical activity, exercising, training, nutrition, health, well-being. So in order to start, we have to ask some questions. Gising, Waashkesh Gising, Iyabe Gising, Anish Dash, hunting. You're hunting, hunting the buck. Why? Before we answer those questions, we have to ask some other questions. And those questions are, what is food? What does food do for us? And what does food do to us? So go ahead and take a second and think about the first question. Actually, it's the second question. What is food in your mind? Yeah. Have you thought about it? You probably have thought about it. And if you haven't thought about it, I'd like you to try to go ahead and answer that question right now. So, universally in all tribes, in all the 4 directions, we have creation stories. And that creation story, in every tribe, there's the deer. And it's understood that the deer understands his role in life is to feed the people. He's weas. He's to be weas. That's food for the people. He gives his life so that the people may live. Because without the deer, there is my tribes in Indian or Anishinaabe, Odawa, and Lenni Lenape. Without the deer, Waashkesh, that's the deer. There is no Anishinaabe. There is no Lenni Lenape. There is no Odawa. Without the deer, there is no Dene. That's the relationship that we have with the deer. It's sacred and powerful. And then Their role, our role is connected. But somewhere along in life, there's a disconnect for us Native Americans with our food. So that brings us back to the question, what is food? I want you all to imagine the last several meals that you ate. Just make a little mental note, put them on a plate. You shouldn't have been eating out of a bag, a box, or a can. That's not healthy for the most part. There's some exceptions to that. But whatever you ate, imagine it on a plate and now look at it with your mind's eye. Is it something, does it look something that resembles that your ancestors ate? Maybe, maybe not. So what is food? There's a criteria amongst Native Americans. If it runs, if it flies, it swims, and it has a mother, it's food. If it can be grown, farmed, gardened, or foraged off the lands, it's food. And that disconnect that I'm talking about, it's not our fault. This goes back to the reservation system. When we were forced to put it on reservations and they gave us rations. What was it, like lard, salt, sugar, and flour, all the stuff that's foreign biologically to us. And then out of that, over the generations and years, what has happened to us as a people. We're going to be talking in terms of people, just referring to First Nations, because the way that we think, we are related to all tribes. It's the same Shandin that covers us, covers our tribes all throughout the country. The same earth that we walk upon, it's the same earth they walk upon. That makes us related. We're children of the earth. So these rations, way back when, biologically, they're foreign to our bodies, and out of it came diet-based diseases, diabetes, obesity, and people much smarter than me refer to it as epidemic levels of those diseases. But the good thing is, it doesn't have to be that way for us. So that brings us to what we're talking about here, hunting. When you're talking about hunting, in our family, we're really talking about food. Why is the food from the deer good for us? Well, we need to understand a little bit about the deer itself and the creation stories way back when to now. The deer hasn't changed. He's still as natural from the time of creation to now. So he still has his relationship to the earth, whereas First Nations, we used to have that relationship, but we have gotten away from it because of the reservation systems. It's not our fault. And that deer, he knows Anishinaabe Mashkiki Inda. That's to say, he knows the plant medicines. We used to know that, the First Nations peoples, what plants were food, what plants had curative properties to cure our ails, make us healthy. Some probably may still know that, and some of us still may have a little bit of knowledge, like we kind of know what to do with the winggush, the sweetgrass, and the sage, and the cedar, and the tobacco. But for me, that's about the level of my understanding of what to do with Anishinaabe, Mashkiki, Ninda, the Indian plant medicines. But the deer gets sick, he knows what to eat. If the deer has baby, he needs to nourish its children. She knows what to eat. She knows how to the deer, they know how to take care of themselves. So they partake of all these good plant medicines in the water. They drink the good, pure water. There's no additives, no preservatives, and they take it into their bodies. And then when we eat the meat from these animals, we get all that goodness, all that sacredness, all that powerful medicine from the earth is in the deer. Then we eat it, and it gives us good health, gives us life. It nourishes our body and our mind and our spirit. So when we talk about hunting, we're actually talking about food, which is like all the rage right now. Right? People are talking about food sovereignty, and that's just knowing where your food comes from. Try not to have a go-between you and your food. So basically growing your own food, from moving the earth, putting the seed into the ground, and then cover it, take care of your fields, or going up into the mountain or the hills and sourcing your own meat as deer. We do those things in our family. Just right here, we have a 2-acre little plot that we grow corn. And then her sister's got like a 4-acre one right there and another acre one right over there. So we try to do that, have that food sovereignty, but it's a new term, you know. It's always been that way for First Nations. And I was born and raised in Detroit. I'm an urban Indian, even though I reside out here now on the land. But my wife, she was raised that way. So she doesn't know no different, you know. That's all she knows is that way of life. And then a lot of times our little ones, our yajas, nowadays they have that disconnect. Even adults, we sometimes don't even hesitate or think. We'll just throw food, pitch it into the trash, or toss it to the dog, or even just throw it on the ground. With this meat, we talk to our kids, you know, tell them why it's sacred, how it comes about, and basically tell them to have respect for it without actually having to say, hey, you need to have respect for that. That's the best way to teach somebody, explain it, and then the light goes off, or there's a level of understanding. So that is how we kind of view food. So what does it do for us? I touched on that already. It gives us health and happiness and well-being. What can it do to us? Well, I touched on that too a little bit already. It can give us diseases, diet-based diseases, diabetes, and obesity, and different types of ailments. And that's long-term acutely. If you eat something that's got a lot of preservatives, additives, it can upset your stomach and make you not feel so good. And then if it's really high processed in sugar, there's things that happen in our brains chemically. We get like these endorphins related to food that are released. Like we get excited, like if we're gonna go get a pizza or get something that's high in sugar, you actually get high from it. And then you eat it, and then you crash, and then you're lower and you're not nourished. So those are some things that we can think about when it comes to food. And I'm just looking at some of my notes. I'm not really much of a speaker, so it might not flow as well. What I do want to say is what we're offering here is just our views and our thoughts. We're not to say our way is the right way, but our way is the right way for us, and it works. And so we're just trying to offer a perspective that be conscious, think about your food, what you're putting into your body, take care of it, and you'll be healthy in your body, in your mind, in your spirit. And then I'm just looking at my notes again. Oh, I guess part of the greetings. We've been married for 25 years. And then we moved back here about 9 years ago, I believe it is. So, and yeah, 9 years. And unfortunately, her mom and dad journeyed to the spirit world. So now, I guess, the Dene way of life with the animals and it's just life to me, you know, that's all it is. So we're carrying on that way. And we're real blessed that her mom and dad did that, you know. Her dad was extremely intelligent. Could do a lot of things, but they chose to have life on the reservation. Here, these lands, Big Mountain, is storied lands. If you know your history of the reservation, this is the heart of all that. And I won't go too much into it, but right here is my farming lands, is my grazing lands, my animal, my sheep's grazing lands. It's all right here. So there's people that still choose. We're not unique. We don't think we're special. There's families that do this still, that choose to live on the reservation. We had a home in the city, you know, we had mortgage, we buy brand new trucks off the lot and had credit score that was north of 800, did all that. but it wasn't sustainable. Like everything we wanted to do was here. Everything that made life possible and beautiful is here. And then we would always say, we're going to go home, we're going to go home, we're going to go home. And the time that we've been together, I've seen people say that are elderly, and they still say, I'm going to go home, but they're still living in the city. We didn't want to have it get that far. So we said, let's just sell the house, go home. With our prayers, we'll make a way. And so that's where we're at today. So this hunting and deer hunting reconnects us to our food. There's a lot that goes into it. It's not something that's to be taken lightly. It's a big deal to make a decision to go up into the mountains or to go into the hills and decide to kill an animal. But all that's entailed brings us back to how our ancestors were. As a Native American man, it's the most natural thing to do is to hunt, to do as our ancestors did before us. The deer has sustained life for our people since creation stories up until today. And then we're trying to go that way into the future. But today we're having a hard time with diseases and illness and poor health. So for a better tomorrow, we need to look behind us and try to do as our ancestors did. And one way that we can do that is eat as closely as to how they ate so that we can be well and the future generations may live. There's a satisfaction, probably from the female's perspective and definitely from the male's perspective, to go and knock over a deer with a bow or a rifle and to bring it home so that your children, your wife, your family may eat again. That satisfaction is deep within the spirit of the body. This is how my ancestors were. This is what they had done. This is how that they live. The deer fulfilled its role in life. And he understands through our creation stories that his role is to be food. He understands it as naturally as her and I understand it is to be parents, as you guys understand to be parents, as you guys understand to be grandparents. It's that natural for the deer. And then the way that I was told when I go hunt, there's one up there that already knows that he's going to come home with me. But do I have the skill, have the knowledge to find that animal in his natural environment? So that's how we reconnect. And a part of that process is from the time that I knock one down, do what I do with it, and then bring it home to her. So from start to finish, we reconnect again. And then we know, hey, respect this food. Don't play around with it. Don't make light of it. Don't waste it. Don't pitch it here or there. Be mindful of it and pray with it too, so that you can have a strong body like the deer, right? Be powerful like the deer. Be smart like the deer. Be resilient like the deer. All that power that's in there. Really wild, harsh, natural, rugged way of life for the deer. Extreme heat, extreme cold, predators fighting other deer to survive through all of it, just to sacrifice itself so that a family of hunters may eat. That's respect. And then you go forth from there, and then you understand a little bit better how that things can be good for yourself. Why food? Taking care of yourself. These are important things. We want the people to live. We want to live. We want the Diné people to go and live forever. I want my own Anishinaabe people to go on and live forever. We gotta look back behind us to our ancestors. Start returning to the ways as much as we can. Navajo land is a land of opportunity. I've heard and read articles from educated Diné people And it's very common for them to say, oh, there's nothing here, or the resources are not here. And they paint this picture of doom and gloom with their good educated words, and I just read it and I'm like, no, I disagree. It's a land of opportunity. And one of those opportunities is the renewable resources, the animals, and then the waterways and the plants. It's all right here. You guys understand this better than me being today, but that's how it is. And then I guess we can just move forward here. That's just some thoughts that I had about food, wellness, and health and well-being. So now I'll go forth and tell a little bit about the, I guess, the logistics of hunting. And I have to say, yeah, to the Navajo Fish and Wildlife for extending tags to the spouses of Navajos. They're called spouse tags. And unfortunately, my tribe is not as forward-thinking as the Navajo Nation. My homelands, my ancestral homelands, is rich in deer and fish and more fish and wild berries. They don't extend any hunting privileges to my wife or any in-laws. So if there's anybody at home listening, you guys need to change that. That's not cool. A lot of times people say this and that about Navajo in-laws and how they are to the in-laws. Well, you all treat me very well, and I appreciate the opportunity to hunt. It's an honor and privilege to hunt within the Four Sacred Mountains, cruise around the Ponderosa Plateaus, the Juniper Pinyon covered hills, and the flats. It's really a good blessing, and out of it, my family gets good health. So the way that I hunt, Belagana, they have these terms is, I guess for lack of another way of saying it, I'll say it's DIY, do it yourself, solo hunting. That means I just go out by myself. Every once in a great while, I'll go out with somebody, but 99.9% of the time, it's always by myself. It is public land if I go on the state. So it's just like over-the-counter tags. Anybody can do it. And then it's Navajo backcountry. When I'm hunting, I'm looking for isolation. I want to get away from people. I want to go, every year I go a little bit farther and a little bit deeper, and I stay a little bit longer in the Navajo backcountry. I'll even sacrifice an area where I know that's good hunting grounds, but I know there's going to be people there. I'll not hunt that area. I'll go somewhere where I can be isolated and be fully immersed in a natural state of the land as a predator. And it's very, it's good that way to do that. And I knew when I first started getting into hunting, which was only like, here, this is going to be shocking. Like, you guys might dismiss me at this point. I've only been hunting for 11 years, but I think I'm very happy with my learning curve from actually doing, and then to start hunting season, I go in the sweat lodge. So I start with the sweat lodge, and then you can figure things out in the sweat lodge and praying. You don't have to be a medicine man, but if you're sincere in your prayers, I want you, what you want to do, what you want to learn, what you want to accomplish. If you pray about it, you can have, I don't know what you call it, like revelations or visions. It's just a heightened sense of understanding. And then from there, that's when I go wherever my tag takes me. And it's been an interesting journey so far, because you get 4 choices when you apply for a tag through the Navajo Nation. And then it takes me in different directions on the reservation.
Places that I've never been.
You know, there's, quite honestly, I've probably been in places where people have not walked before. That's how beautiful and rugged and remote the Navajo reservation is. The Nav people, they always say, walk in beauty, beauty's all around. This, all that really nice beautiful perspective, right? And then I always joke around. I'm like, well, you can actually immerse yourself in that beauty. Go, the lands is amazing, even in your own backyard from wherever you're from. Go for a hike. Go up the mountain, go up the hill, go down in the canyon. Listen, what's above you, what's below you, what's to the left, what's to the right, what's behind you. Feel the wind on your face, the different smells. The forest, the trees, they smell different in the summer and they do in the wintertime. If you listen, sometimes you think you can hear communications between the animals and the plants and all this and that. It's right there. It's part of you as First Nations, as part of as a man. It's part of you. So that's what the hunting season starts is with the sweat lodge, and prior to that, like logistically, is the tag process, how you acquire hunting tags on the tribe, and it is. I just hunt elk and deer. Deer's the one that I have connection with, and you can figure out, you can get a map, and it's also on the internet. These are the game units of the Navajo reservation, and then you figure out where you want to hunt, and then there's an application that can be filled out online, or also they still do hard copies of the application. So you have 4 different choices for your hunts. And you can do 4 choices for deer, and then you have to do another 4 choices for elk. And with the map that I showed you earlier, it can help you figure out what locations you want to hunt. Usually elevation, anything that has elevation is pretty good, but the canyons also hold animals as well. And you get a copy of what they call a Navajo Big Game Proclamation, and that'll break down all the hunts that are available. And the hunts that are available to me, I don't know what the percentages is, but the only hunts that are not available to me are antelope, jetta, I think is how you say it, and bighorn sheep. And I'm good with hunting with the opportunities that are given to me. So you get the proclamation, it'll show you what hunts are available. You get the hard copy or online, fill it out, and then they'll put your name into a proverbial hat and pull around, and maybe you'll get a tag and maybe you won't. So let's say you get a tag. Now you have a responsibility. You need to know the laws when you're hunting, and that's where this comes in. This is slang, we call it the regs. This is the hunting regulations. You need to know these when you're hunting, and you have to be able to answer for your actions and stay within the law, and things will be good for you there. So you get your tag, and then you can go out and hunt those areas, and you need to keep your tags on your person at all times. And because a lot of times you'll encounter relatives and they'll be like, what are you doing here? You're all decked out in camel and you got a rifle, and sometimes they're not too nice. And I've had that experience a couple times, but I'm a level-headed guy. Like, even when people are getting rowdy with me, I'm like, just let them blow out their steam for a little bit and jump in there and say, hey, I have a right to hunt here. And it's actually illegal for people to harass hunters that are legal hunters. So I just calmly tell them, here, I have a hunting tag. Here's, I actually carry the map with me. I have my tag and my photo ID. So I show them on the tag, hey, it says I'm supposed to hunt this unit right here. Show them on the map, that's this unit. And then show them my name and my ID. Everybody's cool. They're like, cool, you know, good luck, good luck, good luck. They're here. And then if you ever talk to non-hunters, they tell you to hunt it, they all know where the deer and the elk are. Oh, they're here, they're here, they're here. And that's a whole different story. That's just random. Seeing animals randomly is a whole lot different when you actually make a decision to go into the hills or the mountains to kill a deer. So I do DIY, solo, backcountry, and over-the-counter tags for the state. And it's pretty good when you're out there. You get to experience things and see things that are yours forever. There's other predators out there. And then when you pray that they recognize you as such. And then you guys give each other a wide berth, 2-legged and 4-legged. And that's not always the case. I've had several experiences with shush, bakwa, as my people say, bear. And at one time we were even face to face with bear. It wasn't by choice. Not that I think anybody would think that's by choice, but you know, through my prayers, you know, it was okay. I didn't get mauled. I think he recognized me. He was curious. Oh, it's another hunter, and then he went his other direction. That's one of those experiences when you go through it. Not cool, right? But it's one of those experiences when you look back and you tell about it. Very cool, very cool. So I was thinking, damn, I bet you this has happened to my ancestors a lot, more than one time. So it was very, very, very good. So I told you I was only hunting for 11 years. I was raised in the city in Detroit. I was not raised hunting. I do have hunters in my family. My older brother, he started hunting when he was a teenager, and he just was self-taught. And I have what they call adult onset hunting syndrome. So the people that taught me were the Tana Atam people. I guess long time ago, they don't use this word, but I guess long time ago, they were called Papago, but they Tahana Atam. They're desert people. And we've been close with those people for a lot of years. And then the family that I'm talking about, Indian way, ceremonial way, they gave their baby daughter to us. I guess Belagana way, you say goddaughter. So the child is still with their mom and dad, but we were there when she was born. We're very close with that family, and we've been going to ceremonies with them for years and years and years. And then one day, my brother, the father of our goddaughter, said, you need to come hunting with us. And I was indifferent. I was like, I don't know, I'm not sure, you know. And then he was very reassuring. He was adamant. He's like, he went from you should to you are. So I was like, okay. He goes, it's going to be good. It's going to be all right. And he introduced me. So we went out into the desert to Hana Autumn Lands. It's Joniet, beautiful, full of life out there. Might not look like it, but it is. And then he talked to me out there about the behaviors of a deer, behaviors of mule deer. And he would say, they do this, then you do this. They might do this, and then you do this. They might do that, and then you do this. And Belagana hunters, you know, they say that some of these behaviors that my brother was talking about, some of them say the Western mule deer doesn't do those behaviors. And then even though I didn't see those behaviors when I was hunting the few times with my brother, I did come to see everything that he said when I was out there hunting by myself. And I knew what to do to, I guess, to take care of myself, because it is a powerful animal, and it can, what did he say? It can get you, is what he said. But if you do this, you be careful. So he has his ways of his people, to hunt other people. So often, Danae find out that I'm a hunter, and they say, well, you have to do it this way, you have to do it that way, and they'll get specific, like randomly specific, like the hide or the antlers or the meat, you know. And then I'll say, and they're like, well, do you know how to do that? And will you show me how so I can be respectful? No, we don't know. Well, I guess our conversation is done here. But my brother, when we were out hunting one time, and we're in a high spot, and just looking, we're looking, long time. He starts singing a song, and I'm still looking, and I'm just listening, quiet, we're hunting. And then all new to it all, only been hunting a few times. My brother's singing. I'm still looking for deer. He's looking, singing. And he gets done singing. And then Shana, you know, call Shana. what were you saying? He told me, I'm calling for the deer. Then he goes, right there. There's one right there. And we were looking, the whole time I was looking, there's no deer, no deer. Singing the song, told me what he's doing. And then he pointed, it's right there. Medicine. He's got it, you know. So I try to be respectful of the deer, try to be respectful when I move about the Navajo reservation. Try to remember with what I was told by my relative. And I told him, shoot that deer. He said, no, you shoot it. And I can't remember if that's the first deer, and we're getting ready to pass it off to her. This is where it's leading. I shot a deer, and I wasn't sure what was going to happen to me. Like in my mind, with my thoughts, you know, was I going to get bloodlust? You know, some people do get that. And was I going to get scared? Was I going to be sad? And it was okay. My brother talked to me all through it, you know, how to take care of the animal. And that's what he showed me. And then he has something that he does, as people do with the heart. And I'll just say that that's for us. And then we did what we did. And then he told me, after that, he goes, you're Tahana Atu now. You're one of us. So he welcomed us into the family years before hunting, and then get closer, 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 grow closer, tighter, more loving, our families that he shared. So with my mother-in-law, she knew that I was getting into hunting. And she told me, just bring home the meat. So I had to learn how to skin. Well, first, gut the deer, skin it, remove the head, and then ultimately when I started going out at the backcountry and knocking deer over far in the backcountry, you have to learn how to break them down, take the arms, the legs off, the head, the ribs. That way you can put it on your backpack, your meat haul, and hike it out. So I've always respected what my mother-in-law had told me. Just bring home the meat so that your wife can make meat out of it. You guys together can make meat out of it. So that's what I do when I go hunting, is I gut it and then skin it, take it apart into pieces, separate it at the joints, and then put it on my backpack and hike it out. And then I'm a hunter, so I probably got my selfie camera going along the way. Look what I did. Because when you're solo hunters, there's nobody to go, ooh, look what you did. That's awesome. That's not what it's about. But it's nice to have a picture. And then when I'm hunting on the Navajo land, I keep the hide at the kill site, and I bring out the 2 lower incisors. You have to show that. And then I bring out the head and the antlers for proof of sex, which you also have to do. And depending where I'm at, if I'm in close proximity to the Navajo Nation Fish and Wildlife Office, I'll leave the head over there. And then they run age test on it with the teeth, and then they check it for diseases for like CWD, chronic wasting diseases like that. So on off the people, the first time I knocked a deer down, this is where we're getting to her, is I knocked a deer down, called her, let her know, and then I brought it home. And then I guess you can go ahead and take over from there. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's to the office of the First Lady, Shema Fifilia, the Second Lady. Yad Asisiko, Hanet Linigin Hyokate, Benacha Qua Yat to by Jensen. She ya Evangeline Pedwaydon in Chiedo Trabahan Chishabashin Kia Ani Dashanala Ado Tachini Edashe Ohata ya Stanage Ado pudo ya nasha zilensado. Ado ako ya shiaho de be do be gashi holongo. Ado keda del ye go na ta ndeta ya na yezda cheshiyanda. Ya shema to shija hotani ya hola. Akoho Sani bitsade yeshatiki sto ya ako inada yilla a hotego na loshi tate ledo na tin hoda hotao sani bitsade yeshatiki ya ba hinsen ako ado Nike the Shahastin Bilin Shnani ya Kat Nadin Ba'a Shtlat Nachada ya El Khan Hidet Nil Koho Yehosil Zinto ya Ebil Yahot Eko today's case to ya Hidit Ashnigo Akoho be Danahilne Akoho de Sani Shema to Shema Sanadan Liniki ya Hajod or Heath you don't need be Ehosenik it's ego to ya open doch nesta you don't need Akoho Ebik eho ya hak dan Liniki na koste hama do haja do sani do hastwi dan logo hutan khay do huje hudas ni do ebji do ya aqua nahit ash kitratin hiranda ebenash aqua nahit ash ko la anti nakhe ako shim Puedo bajo ne ella na je do ella kwe je get out e bajo ne ako kwe ella how many years did we say 11 years
Yeah, it's about 11 years.
Aslata na khata ella ni ke tan ligo ketla dadilja tabsno ho ko ko kena ya ado ya shidast ko she ya ko shema jo hishne hosto de shagand chost labedishno adon de shifnila o ya ne ki jno ko ya hakoshila ajo dolesh jidini ko shumasha ni ya hosto de ado ya bi leniki aita bakagin na hol ya do betitsin shi ya anle eseskinete ad ya nada gishni shi ad ko ya nench di shasti ado shema ya bija shi enalje ko biaho ko ebenach ya hastel ebel bahusen la shedosh bahusen and ko anda ko anda hotao no ko it's igi ya naltkeko Aga the Basla, Ado Chill, Ado Sage, Joy and Goshi, Nagona a coho, Ado Dagger, Aya, Bislity, Donganes, so Aya, Distigili, Dista Basla, Dista you Basla, a coho, Sabana, how would you inch, you know? A coho, it's but now would you eat for the Shneen tas ni ejil no ya kando chid ko tobi zigo hajone ado bikenzl masko ya at aga iki ben hawjil ado stage to ot ben hawjil chill that bethago to do ben hawjil no ko at hishtalia it's iki ado ya الثاني نل يا هتاو نانا جنو كو الصدا شيد كيش ادو بتسنيكي اد ابي هيك نل ادو ان دا يا هتاو إليا اكو بنتش يا بهش اكو Sani ya fetao ash incle bahastina jego dano da difkit a coho she nihima bitsado go ya jino shumai holone slatna khada sitsa naholti ako ebena antkin do hutao shifnene ebik aho tahdi dishje il di shaz tibel ako nalsos bik aho na ajehigi il tsaika il ado ade love it ni ako Nietene for Washington has ado ya ahaski edo dago as zaniki do dinet ego be ba hot na aje no hotao ya baby chitla ako bik aho ya she be sha ya ako ye go ba hensen ado she ya do hotao be sha hoti da shkete shkete ya do yen do jahani da ko ko bin de ne ya hotao ya dan liniki ye hotao ye kita des ko ba kensen ado ko hashtag neko Shaz tinstadel neko ya kohado lesh no be la le higibik aho ya yiszohle yosh kashigi ado lesh bitni a koh ebik aho hashtag nashle a koshe ya ndol jako bis dogi bahst ish do ya bakasha also bendo gatliki na tahandas kadko it's bigeda dol tihita shist shtesha ako ado aje elsko shtadeit ye dol jahigi to hist elele ako penalje ko ya perdon edotai ya ka tido ka ye nalje ako يا به أجهش إليها شيء يا دوبانشتينا هشت أدي ناكو أي أبه أكوه السوست أيش إيدو أبيك أهو يا تختشي نانا أجد ناني دشجا أدو تختشي يغا أدو أجد سونايش إيدو يا ي ودا أدو أنت تأي بدأتيغا ندي جي إكو أكوه نالجي كو أسا نالجي تو يا هستوي لايش ناكختا بيت يا solo hunter هتاد دا يوجي لأكو بي هتانا جي أكو هو بانه تانت آدي يغاكو يا آدي شجع نهلنا أكو هو هز أنك يا ناشي الكاتو ليش دو كدو يا ددش It's so
Just keep on talking as though they're listening.
Ado ya big il do ya bansi case according na leniki na halo ya hache ya do beha hajish akoho yeah, go to that one there. Ado ya hod Nielsen go hod i akoho ado nana ya shiche akoho dia ya njishredo ya shiche da ada hosto de peshin kiran akoho hosto de peshin kiran go ya ada ya beshojo adi shahni yo akoho ado ya ado yahadne she yahut on nashe de no akoho hut yahadne do ya ado ako shema bel it's do la shemaist it's isigo shemaist akoho ya on benesnilgo ado se bis hot beje ya yila ado ya benache ya chiche ha hodne yego hashi yago ha hodne ado ebeshakan ado yahasa shila akoho as we nasty leko she hot hot abnanish ish ina she yebi ish nila ako hot ego ya hot ishiche nesh akoho ado kade ya it's natural it's a dash pizda ado it's a snel do bitsen bi hatnel ado ya edado nilik it's out nas jago il ado it's in bi hatnela ya bit dan tragi traji bit tragi ya at episnelo il it's a dash pizgo akoho age it's igi bahit esko ya bena ya it's nashe that dot isigi roast that will yahiki eto nasneliki hahasnelgo hodan sogota ya beltas disco ado indita ya it's et ho etadod niliki ya nata haspijo daltsiso asatinan ado kun ya el thanil gij rod niliki nan ado nana ananasati ya atsentok aliki ya nan akoho big it's a big Ahee'hee ya anihin he hola a koho it's iki what's out Nick a koho that it's ya roasty ki ya bosto ibigan bel kishiki da kosiki ado jad ado dohtanan schagi wat au ado ki ado in de ya bel edo was nishiki ja it's abijana da is it's abijana go ado in de ja dat de enen set bish het au ja nelki a koko ado kun tranil kij ja nalqahata ado bijad adalt ozugo o dot isigo nana bisnada as this koho at seiki ja tranil kij ja dot delik it out seed because it out edo dai ja kan na da an benesnelko ado ja se bi a visit out hot out hot out no shima a koho ado la anan ja it's not say ndot sikiki a koho ja jerky they sneeze ja sto tranil kij hot out hot out nanel a koko ja smoker sit ish iniki that's a sit ish iniki hot out it's been a sa a kollate hot out il Sate abijana o dahitanelo hot out a koho diki ya nalsi nalsihiki ya yika the say najish fish the grano najish fish ado and the najik ado and the ya a basit ego a ko ishi that's a chon fish na hot out a ko ishi kita chiyan ado nana shahot out nana iniki it's ho it's iki Nal se go yik go nana beige a koho be or go ta hot out nana it's a graniki it's ho a koho ado kuna ya it's ik aniki ya be ohnta ishkijiki ya at Eshiko yik ado ochuito inlego anadan sogo what's albistas disco akoho adiki ya at ho da bel ido hamburgers ado pasta spaghetti ado tacos yo bestal kantla o kohanedish kid het jagon yon kistal kan bedishno ko dibik edishla ado Akonesto nana it's ikago shipage go beat na on elgo. Esto of it out o yobastan kan. Ako ako it's hoist at Seniki at Pahi Bishko a banana Jonesgo. Edoda a be at Seniki a ya yiskin go ananeli. A coho ado into the a ya a Chilo Hanate with the a hotel a nikis tatle. A coho a it's like the Hajit Ashi Eneke or a Katu Hayusla a coho then the lada go a banana go a asatinana a sto chigo as disco a sto a nada go a coho a ahiki a ya say ebi a jidini so do jidili you do ended the a ya Nadak on Toshchin, Kanashki, she would get Kanashki. A topi a kahiki, topi zizi, Ado and the Aya, a beige go a Nadak on be a Jehunaji, Ado Ashana go be, she beach Jihokun, Nilzil, Nilzil, a yatanjikijo, or it ashin only yatanashkish. A coho a ya o cheetah gunde yan a yobenas nicha a copy for cato a na da campus traco coho niche ni che co a hotel it's a said a co a b Shahne ikido e bi betsicht ist eliado ya tsiniki na hitone hot aujis in no shamanan ado kan na da yika ado tsiniki icha do shichebasati ash alcohol ne Jojo ansa sakadiki yapiyaje dinnes na da kan sa bandiji ado bkai dinnes ado bikidinnes chino ako hota isla ado inashwat ado de shilnila ako ya tsiniki na hinsniko bi asha tahitke ado tahitke ike la haje ako kadya ke tanzan hotel ba in lagi aj es khanani telo ya ije shino eshe hotel besh hajodne ako asho ya hotel ado este hotel ya nei it's inki it's host il into nana ya nato liniki ya hotel shamante nato nato da abibinato hiki egi hijihi hihile ako echo on is the liniki hotel hishtaji no ako not ocho on is the it's inki la ado ado apishwata the G ako it's squished ito yat so this in liniki eke hananet zi kontita desha go ado chuito ilko ya be trahya hot eto le be nsaha kesi at eto le be easy at eto le ado ya nan klagi the halo ya be it's had it out nil genoda not it so the nte ako epic aho ahudi nisha nigisi kahiki ako chiniyaje ya ebenach shinyego di na je liniki ahiego it's for our children. That's why we hang on to this hunting. Ako it's nikieko it's hashtel nako ya and nagaha de doyin you know they get first cut and they get the gift of the backstrap. Ako hutao chiniyaje sita.
My favorite cut of the deer is delicious. If it wasn't delicious, I wouldn't do it. I've killed 2 javelina in my time, and I cooked it and I ate them. It wasn't terrible, it wasn't for me, so I don't hunt those anymore. But my favorite cut is the tenderloin. That's in the back on the underside. You don't even need a base. You can just reach in there and pull it out. That's my gift to the kids. Cook it up and they eat first. So that's they're happy, they like it, they enjoy it. And then usually they'll say, hey, why don't you sit down and eat with us? And then we wait till they invite us. And then I usually just tell them, no, Yasha, that's for you, you eat it, you eat it. So I just wanted to jump in there.
Thank you. Ako without chiniyajan liniki sisita without young yobish at eto it's yobish kango what's asli ko ayis da nessa without aj khajishko when is uncle going hunting danitla ako edo da ya dina jekna rado have you heard from him? Did he get anything the danitla ako do Diego I see that season go ya kitho bish the kako ya it's seen the has niliki the mounted heads she gitrates inko ya nikla ya gita do gita do gita do nada distinct ako what's out at see the has niliki ya chiyan yo nego chiyan sa case. For them, it's not a trophy. It's not how big the antlers are for our kids. That's food.
And that's the connection to food. Her being the example of that, having been raised that way, and the disconnection for me having not been raised that way. With the little kids, they just gonna be like her, they're gonna know that connection, right? Like they just associate it as food. And that's really, 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 really right there, touching. Makes us happy.
Ako ado binache ito sani dan dahas trago ni himat dan dahas trago ya biche wil ile ako ado nahaga dat na go do be ya trasakale ako est eliago trasakale Ako tashi kita ya nihichiya tano what's out sani bitsado shafiki what's out ya tahalna ako nihye si kahiki ya ahndi ya kwa nihima do nihije holona da has anag it's out ahndi akwa oh it's kana halo kada huilia the be ado hi do be gashida ado keda de liehoda what's out ya nihiran kwaatsin sa has anige ako do an hide ya what's out nihiran da kon hinago nihike what's out abagan ado shadda dan no shdeje dan no what's out beli da no to agishon dal nish ado ya kaya liniki itado what's out da itado in the konshi kon the better da holoniki dan kichi ya ako what's out she belgana ishni food sovereignty nihima ya yego it was very important to her. Yego she would that illegal yan sa case and they attendo leisure bios casco ya inhito need double HJ the be ya aba the hasiado le benach ya chiniaje ben sa case dahado le ya benach ya atanda hat it's ado le jino ko big echo o inhito need I get out ya kwa Origin ke tahna nil card ado keda ye station long keda ye ako what's out kwa etsin sa has anige ke witse ako hashin sago ya bahado ne di kwa na je do sani bidate sani ibna nishiki shno eshma Kamilia Nez, First Lady. What's out? He kid ako do ya yo alla abe hasindand nihe inigit out seasoned ya bahadis ne ado ya kaya pitsado inado le Beijing now hot ito it's possible so what's out ishma yego ye niche yashti ako is the dolesh halin holo dolesh do ho ya ta skona holo be inado nihiki kode jinoda ako ado one sto ya shigan den ado the do nista ifnas go ya ho the sani kada dishjit ni masane ni hinala kada dishjit jinoda ako big alban si kes go ya kwa nihiran ado la ya nihinache kitrate Neil nish iltra do na nish ya azel inj azel inhibition dash nish go line shinake a koko dai nish go a de kwa shimado shijan hasike go kwa na hitash do ba all il do ba na what's out abik bananil ito banil o ledin kiran de kot aniko ya ade to le ado yego sani do pastui le ad kayat en dit ashti need a koho one en ki lone kitate we sold our house and we came up here. We came here. You know, I'm happy that he came with me. Actually, he brought me home. Ado na nishiki padona na nishiki eya it's is tahtil ze leniki ebena nish kodis chiyan edi Thought Yaniki I see Chiyan to under the Ayan and set Liniki. Hashin Sago Aya Yutako, Hotalian Tin, a coho Ebenach Aya Kodo Hashin Sago Aya was net. Adona Kuna Eki Aya Sani Bitsade Shashiki Kapaha Aya Nadish Kit. The joy Shema Aye Yehazi de a sani Shemaka Holoni Gibinina a sani a Betikita Hashne. Hot Ashidol ad Hot Ein Yak the Snow a Hot Ashidol need a call the old easy it's Edo and the a Ganat of Edo de Hot Ahee'hee though it's a nahani hiki ya art hot though na chista though ya jithita da genoda hot hot ashadoni a coho ya nesna na khada ya shidon deja need the coconut sauce ya baka isla ze pa ajeche ado ya lashito need a kohoshe ne selte ya tene do a she edo londa beje I don't have brothers a koho shija ya troboid of Ashnkishno, a sunny day that need long. A coho bed don na liege, ya Yenantines ado what be as ido ya be job gun safety that out ya nisha and leniki ya ye la kitini a coho jo quite the better the whole do a baby get this tea ado a beba yama idan da kago no ado ya bena a jehel to be yan bena dilia no tlonta hot out in his long na hashish a coho those to has 3 day ebena nishta sani do ido leaf what's edgeno a coho ebena ya ze na jeko ya ke tradition ado ad ke da an alka ado ke ne ilka that they scars and ado dan chkil dan dahal kind Ahota bakatala dahan agota ad yene dilyenko ad dahotola dahatigen dishin ho hata ya sto sa chiost ze ndasi ze ni kido ya Hawan ado anza betahis ad don dat kad ad ya ze en ndasi kido ya shmado shja ado betnani do brother-in-law hut ze ndasi ado ya ado hut it's simpelist adish slash ma do shja akoho yo ba vision machine got hut at nako. It's a celebration, no, kodo a large hat they celebrated our harvest. And it was about 2 in the morning. At antail it's idikisle ande it's it's a family event for us. So and yada. Sometimes my sisters will help take care of the meat for him if I'm not available.
That's part of the nourishment, right? Of what actually hunting and food does for you. It was very communal as our family together to do that. It's very satisfying, unexplainably so, to bring home something like that and then have your mother and your father be happy and then to work on it together. You guys should try it. You in-laws out there, you shout down there.
Nana ya stop sani naljehiki ya behot ado yo lahako just ya dashne the aswi edo holona akosh yan hachina hologoshi ya be it's bahajoli so ya be hade do yin de haswi baal if ya abas the you can hunt, but you have to respect the men's role in hunting. Sani Pizzado Shaliki Esha Anta She Koho Ado Koadzilsa as Aniki Eshi Kita Esto Bi Bagan She Holonde it was a corral for deer trapping. No zine huta that you so and there's up this valley here, I think there's at least 2 of them. And that's where our ancestors that lived in the area used to herd the deer. After my first hunt, I was asking my mom, how did they get the deer in there? And she said they had songs and they sing him into the corral, you know. The trash you had that nicht cotton day as we get that, you know. A coho she ate us get that what's out she yawn Yan a called a shema dosha a lashidini di gipik aho a shashe a call benache a la laid be a rago oh it's a hiki a shishes bahosan do a hotel najitni yalti igish bahosan a call a hotel a bahadistri do hun sohashashin shijik bahashna egi a call dishin that's a sa yanane yanayi go but that's so I said I've gone over everything that I had written down. If you'd like to add anything, that's
It's perspective. If you view things as good, things are good. If you view things as complicated or easy, it's that way. So wellness is the health of body, mind, and spirit. I'm a certified personal trainer. I'm available for hire. You can find me on, just Google me, my name, and it'll come up. Body, mind, spirit. How do we take care of our body? Exercise and food. And we try to explain what food is. Mind, to educate yourself, not just ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, Indigenous, First Nations, ways of the land and the earth, and spirit, our spirituality for her and I, it's ceremonies and whatever beliefs you have. If you neglect one of those, your health is incomplete. So please, my relatives, take care of yourself and be well. And deer is delicious. When I speak deer, this refers to what we said to moose and elk. They're all part of the deer family. So it's all the same approach, respectful, good mind. And the reason why that I solo hunt is I have a standard of respect that I hold myself to, even with the way that I think and what I say and how I behave when I'm walking, what I'm doing when I'm hunting. And then if I'm with somebody else, I can't control their level of respect. It's not for me to control them or try to make them think the way that I think, but more than likely I'm going to disagree with the way they think or their level of respect. So if I just go by myself, I can protect my thoughts when I am hunting. And then also, I forgot to say is I bow hunt as well as rifle hunt. I will hunt whatever kind of hunting tag I can get. My preference is bow hunting. So yeah, to everybody that made this happen, and eat well, be well, and walk in a good way into this life, relatives. And thank you to my wife, and thank you for having us. And Chimagwitch.
a call.
Oh, there she is. Hey, there's the host. Cool. I know we lost connectivity there for a little bit. My phone was blowing up, but it was in and out, so it's good.
Well, I'd like to thank you very, very much for your presentation. Jason Do, Shazade, Vangie, Ahee'hee, Jason comes from the northeastern part of North America, and odd white-tailed deer, the hallo, moose, the hallo. The neck is white-tailed, this guy will yeah. We've all learned the last couple of weeks. We had a visitor from Colorado, came down the San Juan River and shipwrecked the then he resurfaced at Red Mesa, Arizona, and then he crossed the highway, and over a week or so ago he was headed to Carrizo Mountain. So
You know, my thoughts on that is when animals show themselves on the landscape, it shows that the land is healthy. Maybe he was looking for a healthy place with all our summer rains here in the Navajo Reserve. That's the way I was thinking. Good that way.
Yeah, we're grateful, and we just keeping them safe if we see them again. But I'll move right on, and I want to introduce our third presenter from Albuquerque, New Mexico, Kamilia Elsisie. That's the name of our next presenter. And at this time, I will turn it over to you, Kamilia. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. My name is Kamilia Elsisie. I live in New Mexico, and I'm super honored to have this opportunity to present through the Navajo Nation. Huge thank you to President Nez and First Lady Nez. So a little bit about myself before I get started. I put together a bit of a slideshow, and so I'm 38. I live in New Mexico. I am half Navajo and half Caucasian. My dad is Navajo, and his family comes from Big Mountain, Arizona, and then they were relocated to the Sanders area. And so I grew up urban. I never had the chance to grow up on the Navajo reservation, but I've gone back numerous times, visiting family, staying for long periods of time. And so through my family, I was able to learn traditions, culture, small snippets of Navajo, but I mostly grew up urban. I was born in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and then I've lived all over the country, and then I've come back to New Mexico to be with my parents as they grow older. And I actually am not an adult. I am a hunter, and I actually started hunting about 7 years ago. So I didn't grow up hunting. And my family, we don't come from a family of hunters. We are mostly weavers and sheep herders. And so not until recently has the family actually gotten back or has started to hunt together. My dad talks of stories of growing up when he was younger and doing it for more of a survival instinct instead of more of a, instead of like having to do it, we get the luxury of actually being able to participate in it. And so I'm going to go ahead and screen share really quick so you guys can get an idea of all the stuff that I am involved in. So as I said, I'm from Albuquerque. My dad's family's from the Big Mountain Pinon area. I started hunting about 7 years ago, and I was introduced to it by an ex-partner that I was with, and I was introduced through shotgun and then eventually into rifle. I don't bow hunt yet. That's something that I would love to eventually get into. But right now I solely do shotgun and rifle. I started out doing duck hunting. And from there, I've moved into upland game. So I do pheasant and quail. And then I started doing small game such as rabbits and squirrels. And then from there I moved on to bigger game. And so I've had the opportunity to hunt all over the West. So I've hunted in New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, Wyoming, and Idaho. And I've also done some hunting in Georgia as well. And these are just a few of the pictures of the things that I've been able to do in the last few years that I've been hunting. And one of the things that I really cherish as a hunter is being able to share my passion for harvesting animals with my dad. And so I've taken my dad out duck hunting. We've gone on hunts on the Navajo Nation. And so that's a huge, huge thing for me, is being able to share this immense passion that I have with my dad and my family. And so being in a more urban location like Albuquerque, I've been able to have numerous opportunities to get involved with tons of organizations. I've been a mentor. I'm currently a mentor with a mentee, and I'm getting ready to actually go out on a hunt with him. I've been in ambassador and leadership roles through a great organization that is targeted for women, called Artemis Sports Women. I've been lucky enough to have some paid positions when it comes to conservation and hunting education through the New Mexico Wildlife Federation. I've had lots of volunteer opportunities, but I've also been able to be on the board of a lot of these nonprofit organizations that are making huge, tremendous changes right now for our public lands and our public water access, such as Minority Outdoor Alliance, and then most recently is the New Mexico Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. I've also been able to go on numerous hunting trips with women and other minorities through organizations like Artemis and Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. But I've also have been fortunate enough to have sponsorships through certain organizations, whether that's clothing companies, optics companies. So something to think about if you do get into hunting and it's something that you're really passionate about, that there are people out there who are willing to support you, companies and organizations who really want you to be a part of this huge growing community. But not only that, I also do a lot of stuff with the New Mexico Game and Fish as a hunter education instructor. So being able to go out and educate our youth and anybody else who's interested in getting into hunting is a huge, huge thing for me when it comes to hunting, is being able to educate the people and mostly our youth who are interested in getting into hunting. So I know that some of the other presenters were talking about food source and the importance of food. And one of the reasons that I love to hunt is knowing where my meat is sourced. I love being able to harvest an animal in the fields and then go home and be able to produce food that I can pull out of the freezer or the fridge and prepare all of these amazing meals. And there's something about being able to go from the field into your fridge to your table and to have that connectivity with this animal who gave its life so that it could nourish your body. And there's a whole process of it. And it's very, very, I guess you would say, ritualistic in a sense, because you have gone through this process, this life and death process with this animal, and then you're going to take it, you're going to prepare it, and you're going to serve it to your family, your friends, and you're going to nourish them with this amazing story and this amazing life. And so for me, it's huge to be able to have that opportunity and to be able to share something that powerful with people that you care about. And I also think sharing food with people is a great way to introduce them to hunting as well. Having people try stuff for the first time that they may not know what it tastes like. Antelope, deer, elk, sandhill crane, duck, pheasant, quail. There's all these amazing animals. And as we've evolved as humans, we've gotten away from that connectivity to the land and to the animals. And a lot of people have the idea of their animal comes from a grocery store that's already wrapped in cellophane and is in the freezer section or the fridge section, and not being able to know that there's all these animals out there that we can harvest and we can eat. And the fact that, you know, they don't have chemicals, they don't have pesticides, they don't have growth hormones. And that's a huge, huge point for me when it comes to food, because that is a huge barrier. If you can show people what something tastes like and prepare it in this manner which they didn't expect it to be cooked or prepared in, you can change a lot of people's perceptions when it comes to game meat. I personally, I don't send my animals to a butcher. I harvest everything. So from when the animal is taken in the field, I will butcher it or field dress it, and I will carry everything out. I will take it home with me. And from there, I break the animal down. And depending on how I want to prepare it, whether it's steaks, whether it's roast, hamburger, stew, whether I want to do heart or liver, there's so many things that you can do, make bone broth soup. And so I try to, when I harvest an animal, I try to use every part of it that I possibly can. And if not, then I will find a way or make it so that it's usable and it's not discarded. And I know some of the other presenters were talking about things about how they have prepared their meat in the past. And I think we've kind of gotten, the idea for me is that most people think of hunting and preparing meat, game meat, as just the, people mostly did, stew or potato, meat and potatoes. And nowadays, there's so much more versatility with what we can do with our game meat. And it's pretty much what we do with beef or chicken. It's just supplementing it or substituting it for a different protein, whether that's buffalo or elk or deer or bear. And so just some of the things that I've made in the past have been like spaghetti and tacos and stew, hamburger helper, just regular steaks. So there's so much versatility. And now we have chefs out there who actually specifically specialize in Native American cuisine and try to use natural, locally sourced game meat and local produce from the areas from which they are cooking in. And I think that's huge, because it doesn't always have to be just meat and potatoes. There's so much versatility when it comes to game meat and how we can prepare stuff. And it also gives us a little bit more versatility. We have more stuff to work with. We have heart, we have liver, we have these things that most people don't normally eat nowadays in mainstream society. And I think we've definitely had that disconnect. And so that's one thing by hunting, is bringing that back and educating people that these are actual edible parts of the animal. This is how it's prepared. And these are all the different things that you can do with the meat that you harvest. So for me, as I was telling you guys, I didn't grow up on the reservation, but my dad is from the Navajo Nation. And not until recently did we realize that you could actually hunt on the Navajo Nation. Maybe about 3 years ago, I started to do some research, found out that there was a game and fish, and started to learn the process in which to apply for tags on the Navajo Nation. And from there, I was able to get my dad, my uncles, involved in the application process and put in for tags. And so by being able to hunt and have the opportunities that we do on the Navajo Nation, I've been able to reconnect with my family, reconnect with my my culture and my traditions, but also building a tradition within my family to go out and hunt together as a whole. And so over the last 3 years, we've been able to do that. And every year we've been lucky enough to draw tags and to be able to go out and scout on these amazing lands. And there's not much pressure, and we always see animals, and it is indicative of how healthy the land is, seeing all of these animals. And I don't take for granted any of the opportunities that I have or the time that I have to spend with my dad and my family, because I know there are so many people who don't have the chance to spend time like this with their family or their parents. But a lot of people my age don't have their parents around anymore. And so every time I get a chance to go out with my dad, I feel extremely blessed, and I always make it a point to let him know how special this really is, and how important it is for us to be able to go out together, and also to be able to share this with his brothers and do stuff that they didn't get a chance to do when they were younger, to be able to go out with family and have a good time and laugh and have fun. And not needing to do it for survival, but being able to do it because they enjoy it and they like going out and they want to harvest as well. And these, all minus the duck hunting picture, the two on the side are actually Navajo Nation elk tags that we had drawn. And so this is just us scouting out up on the mesas in Unit 16, where we've been extremely fortunate to draw tags in that area the last couple of years. So yeah. And this is just more pictures of my dad and I, my family. And when we're not hunting, even if it's not hunting season on the Navajo Nation, my dad and I will go out and we'll go shed hunting. And so another opportunity, as well as if you're not ready to go hunting, but you definitely want to get into it other ways, shed hunting is an amazing thing to do. It's fun because you're out in the wilderness looking for them, but not only that, it is a source of income for some people as well, because of the fact of the scarcity of the product, and it's not something that can be produced on a mass scale. The photo up in the right hand is of me, my dad, and my uncle Dave. This was last year during an elk hunt, and we were out scouting as well. And so one thing that I think kind of is a little bit different about me from everybody else who's presented is that I do a lot of upland. I hunt a lot of ducks, and I hunt a lot of upland birds. And I know that the Navajo Nation has quail and pheasant, and I believe chukar available. And so not until recently have I gotten into upland hunting. I do have a bird dog. And so I've kind of ventured out of the big game area, and I've gotten more involved into the upland and building a relationship with my dog as a handler, because to me, there's something so primal about being able to share your passion and your experience with an animal who wants to do the same thing that you're doing and wants to be successful, wants to go out and wants to hunt. And it's kind of not as popular in the Southwest because of the fact that we're not an area that has large amounts of upland birds, such as pheasant, ptarmigan. We're more well known for our varied species of quail, but I still like to have the idea to think that I could be a successful female upland hunter someday. And so being able to harvest birds is pretty amazing. Being able to work with your dog and have them be trained to the point where you can go out to the field with them. They can run the field, find a bird, point the bird, and then you can harvest the bird and then they will go retrieve it for you. There is something so special about being able to build a bond with an animal like that. And I have absolutely fallen in love with it. And that goes the same thing with ducks. When you have a duck that does retrieve, when you have a dog that does retrieve ducks, there's something amazing about it. And I mean, dogs are truly man's best friend. And in this case, he's my best friend. And I just recently did purchase another bird dog as well. And so I've fallen in love with being able to hunt birds with dogs. And it's a little bit more feasible, I think, sometimes when you don't draw big game tags or you don't have the opportunity to hunt big game. Upland game is definitely a great choice. And you don't need to hunt upland birds with a dog. I did it for several years without a dog. It's definitely significantly harder when you don't have a dog. But if you are able to have a dog, it does make things easier. But otherwise you're just walking through fields and meadows and trying to flush birds on your own, and it's possible. So it's definitely something that I would try if you're interested in looking to get into what it's like to hunt birds, or if you know somebody who has bird dogs, or even just going and watching dogs work. It's pretty spectacular, and it's extremely magical for sure. Something else about hunting. I've made some amazing friendships with tons of people across the country. And those friendships have built into some amazing opportunities, but also experiences, being able to be with somebody, my friend who shot her first quail when we were on a all women's quail hunt. Like, that's pretty awesome and memorable to be able to be a part of that memory. And having been able to share that experience with her is huge. And I have definitely found women who are passionate about the same things that I'm passionate about. And I've not only that, I found people who are passionate about stuff. I have learned so much about hunting that I had no clue was out there because of the friendships that I've made with people. And everybody does something a little bit different because it works for them. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you, but being able to just harness and be able to have that knowledge is amazing. And I've also had some amazing opportunities that I've been a part of, whether that's going out and hunting by myself, which is can be controversial to some. I've driven to Wyoming by myself. I've harvested deer and birds up there by myself. I've gone out in New Mexico and done duck hunting by myself. And to be able to have the knowledge to be able to go out and know that I can be successful and know that I can be safe is a huge accomplishment. It's also a huge confidence booster. But I've also had the opportunities of being able to share my experiences with other women, with other individuals, and having them go out on their first duck hunt or their first turkey hunt, and being able to be successful and share my knowledge with that person, whether it's man, woman, or a youth. There's something so significant and special about something, to be able to share something that you're passionate with about them and have them be perceptive and have them be excited and want to continue on their journey. So I know that as a woman and as a Navajo woman, I'm sure there are many of us out there, but we are to the general public far and few between. And women are the fastest growing demographic in the hunting area across the U.S. Women right now make up approximately 15% of all hunters nationwide. The political climate when it comes to hunting has shifted. There are more minorities and more women getting involved in the sport. And because of that, there are more programs that are available for women and for minorities, as well as other organizations that specifically cater to women, youth, and people of color. And so a couple of the resources that you guys would be having when it comes to being in Arizona, there's a great organization through Arizona Wildlife called Becoming an Outdoors Woman. And they offer workshops for women who are 18 and older, and you don't have to have any experience. And they have all kinds of stuff from shooting safety, harvesting, how to camp, Dutch oven cooking, pretty much anything and everything that you would ever think you would want to be interested in the outdoors. This is a great program for women who are definitely interested in the outdoors. Not only that, Arizona Game and Fish has a lot of great resources as well. They have a whole section on their website dedicated to you wanting to know how to hunt, how to get started. They hold specific events for people who have no experience, some experience, advanced. And then they also have ways to talk to you about how you would like to become a mentor or to become a teacher when it comes to hunting. And another great organization that is nationwide is Artemis Sportswomen. They do everything from hosting a podcast to hosting events across the country. And they just are all about getting women into the outdoor space. And it doesn't have to be hunting. It doesn't have to be angling. I mean, if you like to, collect rocks or go hiking or go rock climbing, there are women that they would love to have you get involved with in your area. But there's also ambassadors from this organization, leadership roles, to also spearhead things that spearhead local events and organizations to get more women involved in the outdoor space. And there are tons of these programs. These are just a small snippet of what I came across when looking for programs in Arizona. There are tons of things through different organizations. I know the Mule Deer Foundation has similar groups. Bighorn Sheep Foundation has something, or Wild Sheep Foundation has something similar. I also believe that National Wildlife Federation has stuff that's similar when it comes to getting women and youth in the outdoors. So the resources are there, especially if you're not familiar or you don't know how to obtain information. Now that we're all on social media, Facebook, Instagram are all great resources. I always tell people when somebody asks, like, well, how do I get into hunting? How do I find a mentor? How do I, connect with people? And I always tell people Instagram and Facebook is by far one of the most amazing ways to connect with somebody. And I would say 9 times out of 10, if you connect with somebody through Facebook or Instagram, through instant messaging, and you tell them, you know, who you are, what you're interested in, why you're contacting them, and asking them for advice or education, or even going out with you, I can guarantee that people in the hunting community are going to be extremely perceptive to you wanting to learn as an individual, as a woman, as a minority, and they're going to want to share their knowledge, their experiences with you. And if they're not able to do it, then more than likely they will put you into contact with somebody that can definitely give you the resources that that you need. And I know, being on the Navajo Nation, that things can be limited, but I know that there are people out there. The Navajo Nation Game and Fish, I know they have some mentor programs and some you know, hunter education stuff, and so that would be a great place to start. And then if you're closer to a larger city, there'd probably be more opportunity in terms of programs. But also, if you were so excited about getting into hunting and wanting to share your knowledge, I would say the next best thing is to start your own program, and work on the needs of what people want in your community, and creating that program for the people who really want to be involved and learn and be able to have this experience of being able to hunt, to harvest their food. So I definitely highly recommend using your resources, getting in contact with people, because there's definitely a lot of it out there. And you know, Google and YouTube are your friend when it comes to hunting as well. I am always open for people to contact me when it comes to questions about hunting, how to get into hunting, conservation roles, policy, things like that. There's tons of information that people don't really know when it comes to hunting or angling, or just being in the outdoors in general. So I'm always available. If I can't connect you with somebody, or if I can't do it myself, or I don't know something, I can definitely help people who are definitely interested in getting involved into hunting. Being in Albuquerque, I definitely have more resources that are available to me as a hunter, but as a female hunter as well. There is a small group of us here that volunteer our time for certain organizations, and so we've been able to grow friendships and relationships out of our passion and our love for hunting. And so I highly encourage anyone watching this who wants to get interested, who wants to get involved into hunting. If you don't know where to start, I would say contact the Navajo Nation Game and Fish. Or if you have access to Instagram and Facebook, start looking up people in your area, or start following some people who hunt, and reaching out to them and asking them questions and how to get involved. And don't be scared to take a chance, because like I said, women are the fastest growing demographic when it comes to hunting. And so the concept of it's only for men has drastically changed. And I've been extremely lucky in being able to take what I've learned over the last 5 to 7 years and be able to share it with my family, my father, my uncles, and to be able to go out with them and hunt and harvest an animal is something that is so amazing. But not only that, being able to bring people to the Navajo reservation and let them know that we have all these amazing resources. I recently had a friend who she's a spouse of a Navajo man, and I had told her about the spouse tags that the Navajo Nation offers, which we are extremely lucky to be able to have. And she voiced interest in being able to apply. And I did tell her, I said, it is a little bit of a complicated process when it comes to applying, of how to apply, how to submit an application, units of where she should apply. And so in walking her through all of that, this year, she was actually lucky enough to draw a deer tag. And then she also drew a antlerless elk tag in unit 16. So I am going to be honored to be able to take her back to unit 16 that I know really well and be able to help her harvest her tag. And so being able to tell people we have all these amazing opportunities on the Navajo Nation for hunting is huge. And we are extremely, extremely lucky to be able to have these opportunities that have been afforded to us as Navajos. But there's also, if you have ever gone to the Navajo Nation Game and Fish website, there's also the Wolf Springs Ranch hunt as well. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, it's a huge parcel of land that the Navajo Nation bought in Colorado. They also offer hunts as well. And so it's something to look into, and it's also just another opportunity to give people a chance to get out to harvest an animal or to be a part of a hunting experience. When I told my dad that I wanted to hunt, he didn't discourage me. He was okay with it. And I asked my aunt about it, and she had given me her blessing and saying that it was okay. That I just had to make sure that, I was thankful and that I prayed before. And then if I was lucky enough to harvest, but then also by being able to harvest an animal, that I needed to share that with my family and my community, and to not be selfish with that animal, and to show that animal the gratitude and the thank you for giving its life, and that it was going to feed all of these people, and it was going to nourish these people. I have a friend who I was lucky enough to take on a hunting trip, and she's White Mountain Apache Kiowa Navajo, and she had talked to her family about her hunting, and her grandfather had said, times are changing. Think of the animals, when they give their life, it's, and you ingest that animal, or you take, you feed yourself with that animal. That's medicine. That animal has eaten all of these herbs and these plants that we use for in our tradition. And so by eating that animal, you're taking in that medicine, and to always be respectful. And so that's something that I had never heard before. And so it's kind of stuck with me to be able to tell people that, and to make them be more open to respecting the animal when they harvest it, and to use all the parts of the animal that they can in whatever it is. If it's, making something out of feathers, or making buckskin or sinew or anything along those lines, that animal gave its life. And so we should pay it the highest respect and not waste what we've been given. And I hope to continue hunting. And I hope to do lots and lots of stuff when it comes to conservation, seeing that as hunters, we pay for a tag, and a part of that money that we get, the part of the money that when we buy a tag, a portion of it will go to conservation efforts. So whether that's, to open up more land, to have more access to clean water, fence projects, to install drinkers, to have some policy change when it comes to tag allocation, or where we can hunt, how we can hunt, how we trap, things like that. So I've definitely gotten involved in all areas. And as First Lady was saying, I'm kind of a one-stop shop. I do it all. I have gotten everybody else around me involved in it. And so I've just been lucky enough to be on this amazing ride, and I hope it continues for quite a while. And I hope to be able to one day come back and be involved in more programs with the Navajo Nation, and especially when it comes to youth and to women, and getting them more involved into hunting. So I just want to say I am so blessed, and thank you so much for letting me share my knowledge, my education. Please reach out to me if you have any questions, or want any more information, being a minority female hunter. But I just wanted to say thank you, and happy hunting.
Thank you so much, Kamilia. Just a wonderful story, a wonderful life, and appreciate your knowledge and your way of life. So we're getting toward the end of our presentations today, and I'd like to tell one little story. A long time ago, this is a story from my mother. A man was walking in the forest, a Navajo man, and a deer ran across in front of him. And he kept going. After a while, he heard a wolf howl. Ma'itsohle idinijin. Aro ana hashta hoche hotzio tsinchina ma'itso idinijin. Naso ayitete ane kote sigite astzale ilwachin. But astinto bakado bakayelalo. Aro kote hoche chalwachin. Hajikola alwachin astan. Aro koche koshempistini. Hakoshina no. Oh, nato nido hojo bike ilwachin. And that's a story I grew up with. And the lady was, of course, a lady, and she was hunting, and she was hunting the wolf way. There's also a mountain lion way. There's a big snake way. These are Navajo ways. And earlier I also talked about my mother teaching me personally, how to hunt deer. And with that knowledge, with that teaching, I'd like to acknowledge my daughters, Latis Jemay Shabala and Tamina Desba Shabala. They are enrolled Nez Perces from Kuski, Kuski, Idaho, and they're young ladies, and I raised them hunting. They rifle hunt, and they hunt with a bow, and they've gotten deer and elk, and they've also, through their treaty rights as Nez Perce Indians, have traveled to Gardner, Montana, and through the state of Montana, the federal government, the Nez Perce tribe of Idaho. They both have harvested bison. And I want to add that both of these ladies, my daughters, when they hunt, they skin and they butcher their big game, the Navajo traditional hunting way. Today they do that. So I might just kind of add that as Nez Perce Indians, when they get a moose, they'll kick it in the nose, and that's supposed to be so the meat won't be tough. And then another Nez Perce way is when they get a deer or an elk, they'll puncture the eyes. That way the deer or the elk won't tell others that there's some hunters in the area. So that's a little bit of Nez Perce hunting trivia. And this is about Navajo traditional hunting. And this was what we've been talking to you about all afternoon. And I really appreciate, and it's an honor for me to help be a part of this presentation. And at this time, we're going to close, but I want to turn it over to the President and First Lady of the Navajo Nation, Jonathan Nez and Kamilia Nez.
Well, yeah, Dr. Shabala Kado, Hanen Hija Ashana, Imla, do by Henny. Aro Aresha Alchin, Hela, Joe Hotel, Hanen Hija Kotasa. He say da a Kudo, has twee, nothing, the Hotel Daje. Oh, say, Stadalna. No, Aro Ade, Sani, Gia, Nikido out, Nantin Hallo, Nahado. Even Nash Ecuador, Nash Inigi First Lady, Billionaires. Hot out that the Nino, Ashi Ko, Bedini, put out that Ila, Lanjunako, and then Hitchikodalia, Sani, Mutini, son of the here or Etonian and Chinasi. So called that near the neck at Chin Hitch Astonet as now. I don't hear or Etonian and Chin Abolta. A hot out a ya Hanet Nana Danitz. So hot out a ya Jo Astonet does now Ecuador. Kodoshi ya and then Hijipadalia though that's by Henitz and oh here. I just wanted to say thank you to all of the presenters for part 2 on hunting, a women's role. First time, very successful, the men's role on hunting, preparing the meats, and we got a overwhelming response, good positive responses. And then we also got women saying too that, you know, there are women that hunt, and there are ways to prepare the meats based on our traditional way of teaching. So today there was a mixture of both. We appreciate all the presenters for sharing their knowledge with us. And I also want to say thank you to First Lady Kamilia Nez for putting this together and sharing the many knowledges that are out there from our men and women about hunting. And we also appreciate Sonia Begay for helping put all this together, facilitating all the discussion. Of course, Dr. Rudy Shabala, very knowledgeable of our traditional way of teaching. My daughter Louva Dahozy, elder or Navajo historian, talking about the Navajo traditional ways of hunting and those stories. Vangie and Jason Pedwaydon, Big Mountain. Oh yeah, we met them virtually the other day. So thank you for your knowledge and sharing that with not just us, but all the people all over the world, because we're on social media. And Kamilia Elsisie, we met her at a family gathering, when First Lady lost her father, the family came together and she was there as well. Everybody was like, she's a hunter. And that's how Ophelia connected with Kamilia, and we appreciate her stories out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. And the many more comments that we're receiving, appreciate your attention to this. I learned a lot from this webinar, this discussion today. And of course, balancing it, just as Dr. Shabala said, between the male's role and the female's role, it's distinct, and appreciate bringing this teaching back to the forefront. That's who we are as Navajos. Thanksgiving. So do hanegi kuta naso nakhalchin nina kayibje kudelna yeda betzilo lesto yehad alina. So the Junagashi Thanksgiving that was said the nigi yido choda ya masto and hilla dot khalawash bet khada kiso but I hanan hichikushla that koshe ya tinash nigi fulfillness niji anamatsito yela.
Thank you. Thank you to all of you who are viewing this video, whether it's the recording or if you're watching it live right now. And then I want to especially say big thank you to our presenters who came on to share their knowledge and just their experience of hunting, harvesting, preparing, and these game meats. And it's been a day of a lot of sharing, so thank you. But one thing I wanted to mention, when Louva was talking earlier, she was saying, we have all of these stories, all of them, that we want to share, that we don't mind sharing, but it's just that nobody asks us to share. And that's a statement that stuck with me from everything else that she shared with us. And so maybe when you do gather with your your immediate households or your relatives, that's something that's important to share those stories from different generations. And then from Vangie and Jason, from him, it was like that statement where he says, hunting has allowed him to go places where maybe no Navajo has gone before on our own lands. And, and that's probably true for a lot of people who get these tags, because not every one of us is ever going to go into the backcountry where they go. And so that was interesting to hear too. And then Kamilia, she had a lot of amazing resources to share with us. And thank you. I mean, I was telling President, I said, for me and my staff will be out there learning to go hunt and harvest these things. Oh, are we still on? Okay, so yeah, I mean, it's really inspiring. It's inspirational to see and to hear about all these stories from every one of you. And Kamilia, you are an inspiration to me. And really, a lot of these videos that we do, these webinar sessions, that's the whole point to it. We want people, Navajo families who watch these, we're hoping that they get inspired to learn some of these skills and to acquire some of this knowledge from anybody that we come asked to present. And so, oh, and then the other piece to this is, it was the month of November, and this was a perfect time to present all of this because we're talking about food and how do we sustain our people? How had we sustained people before there were grocery stores or restaurants or cafes just around the corner kind of thing? And and my wish for, I guess, families who do come together and share meals this Thanksgiving is that they talk about some of these things. They talk about what they ate, when they were younger, just as Louva was sharing with us. And then, of course, our parents could share those things with us too. These are the kind of foods that were available to us. And then for our generation, a lot of us grew up with what we see now, and it's important for us to be reminded that there's different ways to get. You have to start having those conversations about where does your food come from and where do you want to get your foods from. And of course, there's a lot of learning in that. But I just want to say thank you to all of you. I learned a lot from every one of you. So, yeah.
All right. Take care. Happy Thanksgiving. So, First Lady is going to go get some turkey.